Street Gang, this is Almighty. Standing by, over. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying...
Hello, hello, hello. Let's get the microphone check out of the way here. Let me know if you can hear me across the various chats out there. That would be YouTube, X, and Twitch.com. And we're going to get started here in just under a minute. All right, let's get the music under control and we're going to get started here. Let me get that paused on my side here. Knock my microphone stand and let's get rolling. Hello and welcome to Macro Mondays here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is March 25th, 2024. And, well, we're looking at Bitcoin coming off of the monthly level down here. This is something that we talked about. We talked about a lot, actually, even after Bitcoin had breached the prior all-time high, that the primary downside support zones were this area here at 69 to 65, which was the two wick highs or swing highs from the prior cycle. The first high coming in April of 2021, at 65, and then 69K there in November of 2021. That was the first downside area of support on any retraces. And the next big area was this monthly here at 61,350 down to 58.8. This was an area that was tested prior, at least a little bit deeper inside there, after being broken above when Bitcoin kind of consolidated on the top side of the monthly all-time high closing zone. And that was from October to March. So historical support and resistance wins the day yet again. And as I mentioned, when Bitcoin started pulling back, I was doing a little bit of, I was having a little bit of fun with, are you really fading this? This is the middle of a bull market. And we did talk about some of the meme pullbacks, 20 to 22%, and still, very viable right now, even still. The title of this live stream notwithstanding, the bulls still have some work to do, and it looks like they're trying to put in that work right now. So let's talk about it. First off, after my prior streams with you guys, I had mentioned, the tap on the monthly, and as long as Bitcoin was living below $69,000, which was the prior cycle all-time high, that this monthly was more than likely going to get ran again if Bitcoin did not break above $69,000. That was the condition. Bitcoin is now trading above $69,000. It still needs to close the daily above here to really avoid a longer form consolidation. And even then, that might still be in the cards. So when looking at Bitcoin on the daily here, if it can trade and close above the daily upper first standard deviation at around 70,800, this is getting pushed up as price kind of taps on it. So I would give it to about 71, but I really want to see 72 break. And that's this close open here prior to putting in the new all-time high there. So we had the first set of all-time highs coming in on the wicks, and then we had the closing daily all-time highs with some more wicks, and the closes here were coming in at 72,100 or so. So I really do want to see $72,000 break to really be targeting the highs again and higher. Now, if Bitcoin can target those highs by breaking above $72,000, which is this bear candle close open, so bull to bear candle rather, prior to putting in the actual swing high and closing high here at 73. Now, if Bitcoin can trade above 72, I do think that the all-time high area is going to get ran again by the upper second standard deviation. Now, this is coming in at 73,700, so right around the wick high here at 73,835. If Bitcoin can start trading and closing any daily candles above that upper second standard deviation, not only would it be making likely new all-time highs, but we're probably looking at an expansive phase up to around our targets that we've been talking about, around 75 to 78, above there 78 to 80, and then 80 to around 82.5, 83 or so. Now, when we look at some of the longer term timeframes, as today is a macro video, we will discuss some of the overhead areas of interest beyond the current all-time high. Again, we'll look at some of the Bollinger Band volatility levels as they are painting a pretty clear picture if Bitcoin does start to break out and get expansion to the upside. Now, on the flip side of that, if Bitcoin does fail to break above and close above the upper second standard deviation here, so break above 72, go test the all-time high, and then get above the upper second standard deviation on a close to initiate expansion to the upside, well, the big area to watch out for again would be 69 to 65. You can see that just below 69K, we have the daily basis band coming in at 67,900. So basically 68K. You can kind of give that a zone on pullbacks between 68 and 69K. Or below there, rather. We would be looking right back to the lower first, which is at 65K. If that area did not hold up, well, we're looking for a little bit longer form consolidation then, aren't we? We would be targeting initially down to the lower second standard deviation around this prior higher low on the daily here, to that monthly zone at 61,350, where this lower low over here on a wick is around that 60,770. And if that area did not hold up, then we're looking further down where this lower third standard deviation is by that monthly close in March, which was a closing high on the monthly there at 58.8. So that's really the lay of the land right now when it comes to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were to initiate that move, it had the chance here on Friday's candle into the weekend. We did not see that come to fruition, and the bears kind of gave up ground there, and the bulls took it over and rounded it right back to the top side here. So the really big thing to watch out for today is that conditional close above $69,000 first. Then the next area would be to keep an eye on the upper first standard deviation at around 70,800 to 71K to this close open at 72. Above there, pretty simple. More than likely going to run the closing all-time high here and the all-time high wick by the upper second standard deviation. Conditions for expansion will be any closures above this prior all-time high at 73,800. And really simple to the downside. Start losing 69K and the basis here at 68, then we're looking to 65K. Below there, we're looking right back to the lows by the monthly at the lower second at 61,350 to 62. Below there, 58.8. Not hard. Bitcoin did not meet the conditions for further downside. Instead, it met the conditions to at least blunt the bear push and start to try to push to the upside here. When we go ahead and zoom out to the weekly, we can see that we have a nice swing structure going on here. We can throw on the swing indicator here. There's a bunch of free ones. You can just search for either a GAN swing indicator or a swing high, swing low indicator. There's plenty of them for free in the market. This is just a random one that I picked up. We can see that we have the nice swing high here at 73,835 and then swing right back down into the monthly support. This is something that we have been talking about and have observed consistently throughout Bitcoin's bull run since the lows, right? So once Bitcoin actually came off of the macro low at $15,500 here on spot price, we have seen Bitcoin backtest high term time frame levels consistently. And in this case, we got one again. And, this was not unexpected. This was expected when it met the conditions to hang out in this all-time high swing zone. Now, on the weekly, I do want to note that $72,000 is a reason why I pointed it out. It is the weekly upper second standard deviation here. Coming in at 71.8 currently, but if Bitcoin starts to push towards it, give it some slush, it's going to be around $72,000. So we do need to see daily closes above there to start targeting higher. How high could it go? Well, you can see that I said earlier, I'd first be looking at 75 to 78, 78 to 80 next, and then possibly into the low 80s, around $82,500 to $83,000. That just so happens to be the weekly upper third standard deviation. So that is the primary upside. You can also see that if Bitcoin were to fail at any point this week and meet the conditions to the downside, start breaking back below 69K, breach below 65, well, we do have the weekly upper first standard deviation now coming in at the top side of that monthly that was just tested in last week's wick lower swing low. So that is right around 60,500. So to be fair, it is a slight bit lower. But it's right in this important zone, more importantly than anything else, and that is it's right at the support. So this is lending confluence to the fact that if Bitcoin were to break back down and retest that area, we're probably looking for a longer form consolidation rather than a big breakdown. Now, that said, if Bitcoin did break down from 58.8, especially on a weekly time frame, I'm not just looking in the mid 50s anymore. The meme pullback, I don't think would last. I think we'd actually be going for a bigger pullback. Maybe there would be short-term support because so many people are so dead set on 56 to 58K. Well, any kind of close below that monthly on a higher term time frame like a weekly, and I would really begin to target down to this high here, this consolidation on the daily, the weekly pit stop here, which is at 53K down to $50,000 at the weeklies or so. We can also see that the basis band is now skating on the bottom side of that, coming in at 49,375. Now, if Bitcoin did close a weekly below the upper first, but did not head down here in that same candle, what I would be looking for is the basis to be somewhere around this weekly support area and for it to get tested. Now, that's conditional only. That would be on weekly closes below that 58.8. And Bitcoin is not trading anywhere close to there right now. So if you're really bearish, you might want to do what all of those guys on crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube are doing right now, scrambling to explain to their audiences, that one little fine point, which was their invalidation, which in many cases they did not give. Now, for most of the legit technical analysis gurus out there and or guys who are former market guys, they did give their invalidation of their thesis, and by and large across the board it was $69,000. So pretty easy, pretty clear, and for those that are still holding on to that bullish sentiment and trying to short this above $69,000, well, I would be very, 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 very careful if you are going to be doing so. You're liable to just be liquidity for a move higher. Not financial advice, of course. Do whatever you want, but don't ignore your chart and don't ignore what's right in front of you. All right, so let's go down to something like a 15-minute. You can see that nice consolidation, nice squeeze of the Bollinger Bands coming into market open today here in the United States. And what happened right at market open? Well, we saw a nice uptick off of the basis band here, and then a move right to $69,000 and right through it, quite frankly. Pretty easy to understand coming into the New York session today what was going to occur on any kind of an expansion to the upside or downside. So this was not difficult in any way to make out what Bitcoin was going to do. And look, just like in the bear market, a lot of those bullish bounces that we saw in the bear markets, they got sold into, and we're in a bull market now. So all of these mean reversion plays and all these profit taking areas where then shorts get really excited. Well, what happens in general, they do not end up hitting some of those downside targets. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be a bigger move back down either from here or higher. But what that does mean is you got to wait for confirmation. You got to wait for, you got to be patient and wait for conditions to be met. If conditions aren't met, you need to change your directional thesis for those lower term timeframes and possibly even the higher term timeframes. And look, let's bring this right back out to a monthly. I don't know how many times I've said this, but I've said it a lot. Let's go out to the index here and let's rub some salt in the bear wounds right now, because I have said this over and over and over again. Anytime that we have seen Bitcoin close on expansion, we're in a bull market on the Bollinger Bands here. So we had that closure come in December of last year, moving into January, where we got a nice doji. Everyone got scared then. Oh, tapped on the upper first or the upper third. Well, there was still the possibility that it was going to come back and pull back to the upper first. That is something that we have seen in every prior cycle. And I do think that we will see in the context of this bull market at some point that upper first get tagged. I don't think it's happening here at 45 though. That's for sure. Especially if Bitcoin closes the end of this month strongly. That possibility will likely be higher in terms of a pullback whenever it does initiate it. But I wanted to draw your attention back to this. Every time we've seen a closure above the upper third standard deviation on the Bollinger Bands for the monthly, what has happened? Bitcoin has gotten continuation. In this case, we had the first candle close, then we had 4 consecutive candles close above that upper third. We had a candle closure above the upper third in last month's close in February, coming into March. So the expectation, which isn't always going to be met, but the expectation would be, because volatility is picking up, 47 over 27 here, we see Bollinger Band expansion. So we have confirmation, price volatility moving up with Bollinger Band expansion. It's not within the Bollinger Bands, it's outside of the Bollinger Band. So we are in an expansive posture, and this leads to typically further closures above that upper third standard deviation. How many consecutive closures? We don't know. We've seen things happen a bit differently in Bitcoin as it's matured, as bigger players come into the market. We saw a double top for the first time in Bitcoin's history. We didn't see the big blow off top. Instead, we saw what I consider a very large macro sideways and up consolidation. I think that's what we're going to keep seeing for an extended period of time. Now, I will flesh that thesis out with you a little bit more, because there are going to be technicals to back that up. There already are, and I've shown them before, but we're waiting for a little bit more confirmation that's going to be coming in at the end of this month with the quarterly close. So in this case, upper second standard deviation, Bitcoin didn't even breach below it. Where is that? That's actually below that monthly at 58.8. It's coming in at 58,600. And when Bitcoin was trading towards it, it was at $58,000. So in this case, if Bitcoin can hang out above here for the next 6 days or so, we're looking at continuation coming into the month of the halving. And April in bull markets, typically pretty good. We see that it wasn't the best April back here in 2021. But by and large, that was an outlier. Is that going to happen again? Who knows? We have the halving coming up. We've already made a new all-time high here on Bitcoin. Could it be in for a larger pullback? I would venture to say, with the pressure from the ETFs and the supply restriction on the halving, I would generally lean towards price being higher. And in this case, I do think that the window is closing and is nearly shut for the bears right now. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin is going to immediately take off and hit some of those deeper targets that I talked about in 75, 78, 78, 80, 83K? No, not necessarily. When we look at something like the 2-month structure, there is the potential for things to go higher. I think if it's going to happen, probably looking a little bit more towards, first part of April, if Bitcoin can complete above the current all-time high at 73,800, then possibly we're looking into the mid 80s and maybe even up to 90 pretty quickly thereafter. You can see the upper third is up there at 84,362 right now. We see that the quarterly, though, the upper third, which is typically passed during a bull market pretty easily. And because this is log scale, a little bit over this is like in the $90,000, just pushing slightly over the upper third. But the upper third on the quarterly is sitting at around $82,000. So in general, between the monthly, the weekly, the 2-month, or to say that differently, the 3-month, the 2-month, the monthly, it's already, trading back around the upper third here at 72, 270 or so, basically dead on it right now. But because of the weekly, in general, I would be looking somewhere in the low 80s on the high side for the next move if Bitcoin does initiate daily expansion to the upside. And again, I want to revisit this. I need to see closes above $72,000. Then I'm looking for the highs and higher. And again, where's the $72,000 area? Well, that's kind of 71 to 72. It's the upper first on the Bollinger Bands to the close open just prior to the closing and wick high, all-time high here. Above 72, I am looking for that area to at least be ran and tested. Above there, then I'm looking for expansion to the upside. So this is not a totally risk-free environment for bulls. Bears are licking their wounds right now. And rightfully so. They got a little aggressive there on some of these moves into support. Not just any supports, but high time frame supports with daily consolidations around them. So it's, was it a little bit of like touch and go here for the bulls there for a little bit? Sure, but they held the top side of that monthly support like a boss. And, and bears exited out of their positions by taking profits there, along with bulls longing the hell out of that area. So the bounce was real. And as I said, did you fade anon? Did you? How confident were you? If you are confident in a move, no matter which way that move goes, just understand, as soon as the invalidation is hit, get out, even if you're going to be right in the longer term. Doesn't matter. Get out. You can always get back in. All right. So that is primarily what I wanted to talk about on some of the higher term time frame stuff. As this week goes on, we're going to be discussing more of this stuff as price action develops on the daily and under time frames. And we are going to touch on a few different things here. I wanted to note that Bitcoin has gotten a momentum shift on the daily. The momentum pivot is now at 654. So Bitcoin trading well away from that at the moment. But that is the Stochastic momentum pivot for now. We also saw a drive of hidden bullish divergence populate on this higher low. Now, I had mentioned on the daily that there was a few different areas that we could see that populate from. And in this case, there was actually just this drive that is fully valid. There is an argument to be made that there's more than one drive. I would say that's not accurate, actually. But the drive of hidden bullish divergence coming from that low at around 50,500, right at that weekly support resistance area. It also would have popped and has, it's just not showing on the indicator, but another drive of hidden bullish divergence from back here in the $42,000 low area. So, this is a continuation drive. So at minimum, we're looking for this to test the highs and retest the highs. And for more, we would be looking for some of those deep areas that we've discussed a few times, and I've said the numbers for plenty here. Let's go ahead and look at RSI and take a look at where the bullish control zone is. That is coming in at 72,500. Bitcoin getting close there, maybe even tapped on it. I didn't look at the wick. What's the wick at? 70, oh no, yeah, 72. I said 72. It's only in the 70s. So 72,500 is the bullish control zone. We would want to see lower term timeframes might pull back from that area if it gets there. But we want to see closures above there, get back into the bullish control zone of RSI. And you can see that between the bullish control zone and the critical zone, which Bitcoin likes to play in bull markets, that's the 80 read up here. That is, the bull critical zone is quite a ways up there. So maybe I'm being a little too conservative if it starts to get back into the bullish control zone, because this is coming in at $100,000, which is one of our macro target areas for possibly a wider pullback. And you can see that above there, the user alert level, which Bitcoin has already tapped on a few times back in February in this case, that's all the way up at $137,000 now. So if Bitcoin can make it back into the bullish control zone, seems like 100K could be on the board. Doesn't mean it's going to immediately get there. I would still take 75 to 78, 78 to 80, 80 to low 80s, and then possibly the mid 80s from there. I don't think it's going to be one straight bull candle to 100K, but you never know. We do have quite the supply restriction coming in with the demand from ETFs and regular folks like ourselves really, really picking up right now. So, and it just so happens that I think it was Friday that Fidelity came out and was like, oh man, it's overbought. And that just so happened to be the low. So the higher low, I should say, not the low. The low came in back here, to be fair, on Wednesday. But Fidelity started going, it's a little overbought, that Bitcoin thing, on Friday. And then over the weekend, it just picks up and continues in on Monday here. Let's Let's go ahead and take a look at that 12-hour setup, because the 12-hour setup gave it away yet again. And remember, the 12-hour setup is one of my favorites. And this one, I did outline the more bullish scenario, and it did play out the more bullish scenario. It didn't play out one of my favorite setups, which is a retest of the lows by the lower second, but it played out the more bullish scenario that we have talked about. That's where we get expansion of the Bollinger Bands to the downside. This is the 12-hour, keep in mind. Bounced up towards the basis, came back down towards the lower first, and my favorite setup is when it goes and it taps on that lower second. But on the other side of my favorite setup is the really bullish case in this one for a reversal, because it was a downside move. You get the higher low, it's going to come in and around that lower first on a closing basis. Now, to be fair, it did try to reach down for that lower second standard deviation, but I personally, my favorite is when it hits it. In this case, this was right back towards that monthly zone, in between 61,350 and the $65,000. So you had the monthly support on a close right in that area, and then overhead resistance was $65,000 at that first 2021 all-time high wick. We see that it did trade under there, even tried to push above into $66,000, but it sat on that lower first standard deviation. More importantly, what happened when this was occurring? Well, we already saw the shift in in the 12-hour stoke for momentum back to the upside, coming off of the lower low over here. And now we have a trend break. So we have a closing higher low, we have a higher low swing, and then we have the higher highs taken out here on a swing. Now, of course, it needs to close up here on this candle. And in addition to that, if it closes up here, we have higher lows and higher highs on not only a swing, but a close. So we still need to see it close end of day up here. And the nice thing is, if you really want to get a preview of what's going to be happening in the daily, well, the 12-hour is going to give it to you. The upper second standard deviation, if it does close above there, is going to start to move up a little bit more aggressively. Now, to be fair, on the other side of that, when we do see a bit of a range play on the bands like this, the lower second will also expand a bit to the downside, likely coming into that low around that 60,700 area. Now, if it does close above the upper second, I would be looking for at least tests up to that $72,000 level and possibly the highs again. So there we can see that the 12-hour is likely going to give us an edge when looking at the daily. Of course, the lower term timeframes will give us that edge when looking at the 12-hour. So as it relates to the 12-hour at least, if Bitcoin does close anywhere above the upper first, downtrend is broken. Higher highs, higher lows are the only things that are really in the cards. What would be the invalidation for looking further to the upside? Any closes between around 63,800 and this wick low down here at 62,274. See any kind of closes down there, probably looking for it to run this low and lower into that monthly zone around that 58.8 to 61,350. So you do need to be aware of that downside. However, unlikely it seems at this particular moment. And of course, that would just be somewhere around initially the lower first and lower second. So, any closes below 61,600 or so, and this close open down here, and losing the lower second, we're looking to the wick lows again. Then we're looking down to 59K to 58.8 at that monthly support. But for right now, Bitcoin is, it's got its higher low. It's got to close up here to get its higher high. This would be a nice trend reversal, and then run it back to the highs. Basically, that's what I would be looking for. We can see that 72,500 is right around the 12-hour highs right now at the upper third. If it did close above the upper first and or the upper second, we're going to see this skate up past the highs there at 73 into 74. We'll see the upper second standard deviation begin to start moving up towards these highs as well. So again, I need to see a daily close above 72K at minimum to be looking for sustained moves to test the highs and higher. And right now, it's looking on the verge of completing one of our first criteria, which is a close above $69,000. Now, of course, there's about 6 hours to go in the daily candle and 12-hour. So you know, it's not locked in, but it's looking ready to lock in, at least as it stands right now at this point in the day. The 12-hour also has a pivot down around $65,000. So if you do see that support area, the prior monthly all-time high, that was the March all-time high at 65K broken down from, basically be Bitcoin trading and closing back below the 12-hour basis and heading towards that lower first. Well, that would likely turn momentum to the downside here. We can see Bitcoin also playing out some nice bullish divergence here, a little bit of inverted head and shoulders there for all those people looking for the head and shoulders on the other side of this to come down. Got the throwback to the head. Whenever you're looking at head and shoulders, patterns typically fail in spectacular fashion. So that's why you don't see me using patterns. If you are a pattern trader and you've honed your skills on it, great. But the statistical hit rate for patterns is about 50 and under percent. And especially on, anything like a head and shoulders in the middle of a bull market, you're probably looking at a throwback. Just like an inverted head and shoulders in a bear market, you're probably looking for a throwback, more statistically likely. We do see that the 12-hour is pushing towards that bullish control zone. You can see also that the bullish control zone is at 71,500 right now. It's actually 71,423. My apologies. If you look up here to the critical zone, which the 12-hour has been known to play in, doesn't mean it's going to again, but the critical zone is up there at $91,000. That is on the board if Bitcoin starts to break back into the 12-hour bullish control zone and maintain itself there, and especially get expansion to the upside here. When we start looking at something like the 6-hour, we can see that we are getting expansion to the upside as of the last 6-hour close. So while we were talking, we got a 6-hour close above the upper second standard deviation, kicking off expansive posture to the upside. And quite frankly, it's targeting that upper third right now around that $71,800 to $72,000. Go figure. The area that I want to see break. And, above there, we're looking at the highs, probably higher. If Bitcoin were to come back down and close anywhere below the lower first, we would be looking at possible invalidation of this uptrending structure. Now, it did break the downtrend on a close, nice higher lows. Only thing it can do now is higher highs. So we do need to see it maintain this last higher low around 63,800. Hey, that sounds familiar. That was the 12-hour, wasn't it? So that is also by the lower first as it currently stands. Lower second, right at that wick low around 62,200. Excuse me, to 62K. If it loses that area, we're looking for this to run it right back to that monthly zone around 61,350, 258.8. But as it stands right now, it's pushing that top side, and I would expect this to continue. Let's go ahead and look at Stoke. Yes, momentum agrees for the moment on closures above $67,000 coming into today's daily close. So we can see that the 6 hours also got many, many drives of bullish divergence going on here. It is back in the bullish control zone. If it was going to exit the bullish control zone, that would be on any closes below 69,800. So even if it did exit the bullish control zone but not break down from $68,000 to $69,000, still very, very bullish. We can see that the bull critical zone is right there at 81,300 or so. So again, one step at a time. If it breaks the highs, 75 to 78, 78 to 80, low 80s, somewhere around 82.5 to 83. That weekly upper third standard deviation. So that would be, it meets those criteria to the upside, starts taking out those zones to the upside. Then I would be looking for the mid to low 80s, probably on the lower end of the 80s to begin, and then we come back to it and reevaluate. When looking at the 4-hour, 4-hour looks good. Probably extended here on the 4-hour if I had to bet. Yep. So 70,338 would turn this back down. But this is in an expansive posture. So to remain expanding aggressively on the 4-hour, which has a decent uptrend going considering it was a weekend, we do need to see closures coming in on the 4-hour above the upper first standard deviation. Just so happens to be this short-term consolidation as well right now. That's coming in at 76,500. On the next 4-hour closure, I would expect this to be somewhere around, did I say 76,500? I meant 67,500. Wow. Dyslexia got me there. My apologies. I would expect this to be somewhere around $68,000, which go figure, that's the daily upper first, I believe, right? Or it's a daily basis band. I don't remember. Let's go ahead and look. Let's not be wrong about this, and let's look. It is the basis band on the daily. So $68,000 is the basis band. It's the 4-hour on the daily. It's the 4-hour upper first here, roughly in and around that area for closes is where I would want to see Bitcoin maintain in order to preserve its shot for a more immediate run of the all-time highs here. And if it did start to break down from there, again, anywhere above the 4-hour lower first and this last higher low down here, you could consider this a higher low as well. But because of the way that this operates with the 6-hour and 12-hour, as long as it's trading above around $64,000 to $63,800, you know, looking pretty strong. If it starts to lose that area, well, danger. It's going to probably run right back to those lows and probably lower, to be quite frankly, and maybe we do get the meme pullback. But in this case, Bitcoin is on the opposite side of that, pushing the highs. So although we should be aware of it, we should not be predicting it until we see something structurally change. And right now, Bitcoin looks as though it wants to keep going. It's above these wicks. It's pushing this high right here almost, or the high side area on the lows here, I should say, you know, are coming in right at that upper third standard deviation at 71.5. So if it can start reclaiming this area, this little order block candle, this was a, well, this would be considered supply overhead, but you know, because of the rejection, I'm not so confident in that, to be quite honest. Sorry to break your hearts there, bears. Yeah, but closing outside of this wick high structure as well would do it around $70,000, $70,055 or something like that. So that's where I would look for further tests up to 72 or so. And it can do it all in this candle too, right? Before the close of it and possibly the last candle of the day into the close of the day. All right. That's going to be it for Bitcoin for now. Let me go ahead and jump into the chats before I continue on with some other analysis here as it relates to Bitcoin in terms of some fundamental stuff. And then we'll take a look at traditional markets. Let me go jump over into the chat. So I see a lot of people hanging out right now, but not a lot of people chatting. I Spin, No Name, Baba. You guys are the only ones chatting. I see a lot of people hanging out, though. I know that on X, I have looked into it a bit. It does seem as though you have to be a premium X subscriber to chat in live streams, it seems. One of the things that I am looking at doing is possibly converting these into a Spaces, because you can live stream to a Spaces now, as I understand. I'm not familiar enough with the process to do it at the moment, but that would allow people to at least hang out. I can see if anybody does the little hand emoji because you got a question, and maybe we can start taking questions live. And as far as I know, you don't have to have any kind of premium membership or subscription with X in order to do that. But that would explain why some of you can be sitting right next to each other in the same house. One person on one phone can chat on X and the other one can't. So let me see. Is there anything? Let me go through the chats here and see if there is any questions before I move on. Yes, I did want to thank you all for hanging out with me. If you really want to understand markets, stick around. It's all I do. I mean, yes, for some of you that are from the ordinals communities, you know, I am a degenerate gambler, and I do like to buy art. So, but that is completely secondary to trading, which is my primary job, so to speak. All right. doesn't look as though we have any other questions coming through. So Bobby says, Bitcoin's choosing rich. Hello, Ivan. I didn't see you in the other one. See, this is the problem with the chats. I gotta find a solution where we centralize chats or something like that for our streams, because we do stream across multiple platforms now. Probably be beneficial to get some kind of chat going for those that want to ask questions and not have to jump around from platform to platform. Yes, I do agree. It does seem as though Bitcoin is choosing rich. This is not unexpected, though. I mean, come on. we knew if it didn't break down from the monthlies, it was not going to go hit some of those deeper targets. And, I want to reiterate, it is not out of the woods. 69K needs to break. That's the first criteria, but that's to go test the highs at minimum. To get above and test the actual all-time high again, I need to see closes, at minimum 4 or 6 hour above 72K to give it a chance to go test the highs and higher now. And on expansion, we need to see specific criteria met to the upside here, and that's 73, 600 to 800. It needs to take out the all-time high. Then it'll get an expansion on the daily, and then we're looking at those deeper targets. But until it does that, it's looking like, bit of a reaccumulation and could last a little bit longer than many expect as well. So, just like I was not very bearish at the lows, we're being logical about how we break down price. I'm not going to be uber bullish at, run back at the highs right now either. Because we need to see specific criteria met in order to get continuation in either direction. Obviously it was very, very scary for a lot of people when it was on those lows, even though we're in the middle of a bull market and people are pissing their pants constantly. And, I got to do it, right? Do I have to do it? I got to do it, right? Okay. Let's talk about PP pants bulls here, because how many times have they been pissing their pants on this move up since 2022 into 2023? Early 2023, every bear on the planet was screaming about how it was going down, 12K incoming. Oh my God. We just had this massive pullback, 22%. Bulls are dead. Bitcoin's dead. It's going to go right back to the lows. It's going to dead cat bounce there. And then it's 12 to 10K, possibly even 5 to 8K and 3K again, and like all these crazy numbers. So that was the first one. Then we had another drawdown of 20%. And, again, it had already broken out and it was drawing down to support again. And what did everyone, bulls are pissing their pants and bears are screaming about 10 and 12K again. Our thesis is not invalidated, they screamed, even though it was pulling back into support and it was holding it. Oh, here we go again. See, we were right. You topped out at 31.8. You suckers. You bought the suckers rally, and now you're trapped. Bulls pissed their pants, and bears screamed 10 to 12K again. That was a 21% pullback. Okay. Now we break out of structure, and we're officially in a bull market. When doing so, after breaking 31.8, which was our criteria all the way back then, if you were watching, yes, it was skating the line right here on the highs from the weekly into that 24,900, 24,700 lows there, but it didn't break down, and the criteria was it has to break down in order to look any lower. Then we start looking towards the highs over here at 20K and possibly under again. And even then, I was like, man, probably fighting for 20K, man. Once it broke out, bears screamed, our thesis isn't invalidated. We've updated our invalidation targets. And then, it kept marching up to the 40s, and then it spiked into 48. And then it pulled back, 21%. And, bulls pissed their pants. Bears called for 10 to 12K again. And, what did we see again on this move back down so far? Well, I had mentioned because we have bigger players in the market, it might not be that deep. Yes, 20 to 22% is is a viable target, but the window's going to quickly close. And the condition is it has to break down from the monthly at 58.8 in order to even get there. And it didn't even breach it on a close. So, good luck if it's not going to breach it on a close, and and the bears are still screaming. They're screaming into the void. Even right now, you can see the upper first standard deviations at 61,600 on the weekly. So, if it were to break down now, that's where I would start looking deeper than where many are talking about. And that's first over here to this area, which is about a 28% pullback, possibly even down to the basis, although I expect that to be somewhere around the low side here at $50,000 coming into this week's close, if Bitcoin closes anywhere above the basis. So, look, be logical about your targets, and you're not going to go wrong. And, memes are memes for a reason. Memes often are very, very true. They're good for making fun of things with that hint of truth. But then ultimately, when you turn a meme into cryptocurrency, it usually fails. So had to fail at some point, right? It had a good run. And on the weekly, any closes above $69,000. And guess what? If it closes here this week above 69K, highs and higher in the cards. Guaranteed. Not financial advice. Maybe check those lower term time frames if it does happen, right? All right. So, I told you guys that people on Crypto X and Twitter would be eating their words fairly soon, and they're already doing it. And here's the thing. I think that they shouldn't yet. They shouldn't yet. They should hold on to the hope. Keep that bear hopium alive. We want cheaper coins. Come on, guys. What are you doing? Don't give up so easy. Triple top, remember? Triple top. It's going to happen. Carrot Top told me so. And he's all about tops. All right, so yeah, I think they actually are shitting the bed on their narratives a little early. I do want to see 72K ran, but the weekly closes above 69K, and guess what? Bye Barras. Just keep your analysis conditional, and you'll really never go wrong in your trades. Again, not financial advice. Do your own research, all that kind of stuff. Everything's going to zero. Let's go ahead and take a look at traditional markets. This is the boring part for most people, because most people here aren't here for traditional markets, but you should know what's happening. Why? Well, traditional markets are and have been the primary driver behind Bitcoin's price since about 2016 going into 2017. So yes, I know all these companies and these exchanges and the FTXs and the Three Arrows Capitals and the Celsiuses and the BlockFis. And no, it was because of the plebs. The plebs pumped it. No, it was wider adoption. Bitcoin is infiltrating the financial system at a global scale. And this is what you want to see. I know people don't like the ETFs, but how else are you going to get in the door? We got to infiltrate it somehow, right? And once Bitcoin gets into the system, it will infect every part of the system. It's already doing so. So we should pay attention to traditional markets. What are traditional markets doing today? Oh, they're down. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's bleeding. But it's still above all the areas we talked about last week. So on the daily here, do I not have Bollinger Bands loading here? What the hell's going on? Anywhere above this prior 888 to 1 spot area, gonna be a likely bounce zone in the lower term timeframes. If it does hold up, probably looking for a little bit of consolidation. That's coming in on Dow at around 39,141 to around 39,300, where it is currently testing on the top side of that upper first standard deviation. If it's going to remain very strong, it's going to hold the upper first to the basis. So you can give it a little bit of room to bearishly reclaim some of these areas in the lower term timeframes. But starts to lose that. It's skating back to the lows pretty quick, somewhere around 38 38.5 to 38.7 down here, possibly even 38K. Starts to break down from there. Look out below because it's going to skate pretty far. 38K is actually over here. My apologies. This is the 38.5 low. I was pointing in the wrong area. But then you got to be aware of that $38,000 low over here. If that is lost, well, it's going to be a fun trip back to the prior all-time high for Dow. At the moment, though, I'm not too concerned about this. We can see that Stoke is a barely visible line down here because this indicator likes to really screw with me. This regular Stoke is the Stoke reverse panel by Trader Hali, I believe. I'm saying that wrong, but 39K is going to be the momentum pivot. Momentum still remains strong today. One of the big things I will point out, though, is there's bearish divergence here, so maybe it's in for a bit of consolidation. We'll see. Now, granted, that bearish divergence isn't as powerful now that it got a breakout of the consolidation, so a back test of that consolidation is more bullish than bearish. But if it starts to bearishly reclaim, that's where, that bearish divergence will play out yet again. And you have to watch around 38.5, 38.7 region. When looking at NASDAQ, NASDAQ's actually looking a little bit better than Dow currently. NASDAQ hanging out around the upper first and upper second zone. Now trading below the upper first. So even though it is pushing, or it traded below, it opened below and then moved back up above rather. This is the area that you do need to watch for on NASDAQ, and that's around 18.2 to 250. If that area is lost, we're probably looking at an 18,000 to 18,100 run for NASDAQ. That would be somewhere around the daily basis band. But on the other side of that, if it's going to maintain a strong bounce, it's got to get above 18,300 to go run the upper second and the highs there around 18,4 to 5. If it can get above around 18,464, we're looking for probably a replacement up here around 18,5 to 6, and then above there around 18,7 to be the first big area to look for to the upside. Could it run and be even stronger than that? Absolutely. The 1414s there just under 19K, coming in at 18,891 or 18,9. If this did drop around 18K, we're looking upper 17s at the 618, almost 18K, to the lower first here at 17,932 below there. Be aware of this low by the lower second and 382 around 17,750 or so. What does it look like on momentum? Actually looks pretty damn good, to be honest. 17,937 is going to be the area to watch, and of course that's 18K. That's the areas we just spoke of. Let's look at we're looking at SPY being the stronger one at the moment, in my opinion, of all of these in terms of how far it can fall before turning into more of a wider pullback. It's in an up candle today. It's got to recover this close from Friday at 521 to really start pushing back to the 521 to 523 region. Above 524 and a half, 524. We're looking for 525 to 526 by the 618. Above there, we're looking at the 786 to the 1888, around 528 to 530. I still would take this 5 points at a time. It's trading at 520. If it does trade down to around 518, I would be looking for it to skate a little bit further into the 515, 516 region initially. If that didn't hold up, then we're looking around 510 to 515 area, and then primary resistance being that 515 area. At the moment, though, this is a consolidation breakout sideways and up. I don't have any problems with this. Yes, the bearish divergence you're going to see is in play, but it's corrective at best right now back to that upper first. In my opinion, closes above 516 look good. Trading and closing candles above 520, even better for today. And we'll revisit this on Wednesday, but looks fine. I know that some people are freaking out about traditional markets right now as well. Let's look at Dixie. Dixie had a nice push into that zone that we spoke of. It was trying to fake everybody out, looking sick, looking ill. And I had mentioned if it's above 102, it's pretty much fine. And it did test up towards that 104 to our zone up here at 104.55. So 104.26 to 104.55. If it loses it, that's fine for today. The upper first standard deviation at 104 is the area that Dixie needs to hold to then try for that upper second and get expansion up to around 105 where the upper third is, possibly the deeper 105 to 106 region here at 105.40 to 105.60. Above there, we're looking at 106. If it does put in a high here, needs to hold around 103.84 to prevent a run back to around 103.50 to 55. If that area breaks down, we're looking to this this open down here with the wick low at around 103 to the lower first at 103 even, 103 like 17 to 103 even. Below 103, we're looking 102.5. Only if we see that area breakdown do we start looking at this low over here between 102.35 and 102 even. If it did drop 102, we're looking for a wider drop in Dixie over time on some of the longer term time frames. The daily looks fine to keep getting continuation for momentum to the upside here on closes above 103.66. I have no problem with this. It's coming out of the bearish control zone, tapping on the bullish control zone, getting a pullback. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with this. And everybody's like, oh, Dixie's running and Bitcoin's going up. It's going to fail. Oh, my God. You know, Bitcoin and Dixie often run together, believe it or not. They do have a convergence divergence frequency. It is something we could get into, but it's not worth it. You just watch the Bitcoin chart and you're going to see where things are going, and it's going to imply what's happening in the wider markets in general. I do expect Bitcoin to be stronger than wider markets in general due to its the way that it is structured. And we are seeing that gold may have put in a daily double top, but if it starts to trade anywhere back above the close open and upper first standard deviation at 2188. I'm looking for about 2200. Hit our target up there at over 2200 as well. It didn't quite reach for our 2230 to 40. Topped out at 2291. That's actually tough to say. Now, if it did start closing back above the upper first, I would look for the wicks to get filled out. Maybe it runs for 22,250 on the compression. Strong above the basis and strong above 2146. So 2146 to the basis here at 2138 is going to be the zone to watch for right now. And I do suspect it's basically going to be the lows at the end of today at around 2146. So if it did drop that area, we are looking for a possible drawdown somewhere to 2100 to 2125 by the lower first. Initially, any further than that, we're looking right back into this zone around $2,075 to $2,034 by the daily lower second. The Stoke has shifted. I need to see multiple drives of bearish divergence. This looks as though if it can hold the bullish control zone here, that it could make a run for those highs again. I want to see at least another drive of bearish divergence to really, and those lows being lost that I just mentioned, 2146. Need to see that area lost, and then we can start looking for further downside. Along with, I do want to see an additional drive of bearish divergence, to be quite honest, with a breakdown. If we see a breakdown without an additional drive of bearish divergence, I'd be looking for it to remain fairly strong. I want to see, 1 to 2 drives are probably good enough to get it corrective, and then possibly a third for a full-on reversal. Right now, gold looks fairly strong. I'm sure Peter Schiff is just so over the moon about it. But then make sure you show him the Bitcoin chart, because it has been underperforming for a long time, sir. Yeah, he's got his companies to protect. Remember, his son owns Bitcoin, and I'll bet you he owns Bitcoin too. His whole gold ordinal was pretty funny. I don't really know if that was him, although he claims it was him. That would be funny if that could be confirmed, because I think it actually sold okay. I haven't checked that in a while. Maybe one of you guys can in chat. Yeah, so let's go ahead and roll back to the chats here, see if anybody's got any questions about what we talked about today. For Bitcoin, traditional markets, Dixie Gold, any of that. We're not doing shitcoin analysis today, so I do want to open it up to questions. They can be technical analysis related. They can be about the charts, my personal thought about the charts, and what's happening. Something related to Bitcoin and blockchain. I mean, shit, if you want to ask me about ordinals, you can. I'm not the alpha guy for ordinals, though. There's plenty of others that most of you already know. Let's go ahead and turn on the tunes while I take a look at chat here. Let me move a few things around here. Give me a moment. What do we want? Quattro Beats, UFO, Rage, Cyberpunk, Synthwave. Yeah, let's do that one. That sounds fine. So what I noticed is this fader is not working correctly. It's only once I let off the fade. Let's actually put that back down a little bit. My apologies for your ears. Let's go ahead and take a look at the chat here. Bobby says, like Roka would say, trust the process. Yeah, as long as you have a process that's trustworthy, trust it. If you are having success in markets, there's no reason to change what you're doing, even if it's completely different than my analysis. But if you're looking to me for confluence and or a counterpoint of view, that's where the value really is. If you're looking to learn how to trade or do analysis, not how to trade, to do analysis like I do, keep watching. It's fairly straightforward, and it's highly accurate. And it's logical, more importantly. Most systems that you're going to run across are overloaded with complexity just to get to the same conclusion that we are coming to. I mean, go back to naked charts. We can do that, by the way. Go back to naked charts, and we're still going to be very, very accurate, because it's trend first. Combine that with support and resistance for whatever trend you're in time frame you're looking at. Volatility, which is the movement in price or the dispersion of returns, if you like. And that all creates momentum. And those are your 4 key pillars to your charts, 4 key pillars to trading. Now it's all about creating a plan to take advantage of that. And if you have a plan and it's working to take advantage of those 4 key pillars of trading, you're going to be very successful. And it's not that difficult, as long as you have a good understanding of your own psychology and you have grappled with your ego, because that is what gets most people. It's the ego. And I don't just mean ego in the sense of, pompous or any of that, or overconfidence. Ego it's both ways, cuts both ways. It's how emotional are you about this trade? How practiced are you to cut out the emotional side of that in order to be successful and implement a specific plan? Like, you may not want to cut your trade, but you need to, right? So your system should have an invalidation where you cut the trade. And if your ego gets in the way of that, whether it's fear or overconfidence or whatever it might be, that's the killer. That's how people get absolutely destroyed in these markets. And even people who are really good analysts and have good risk management, a good risk management focused trading plan. and they just get completely destroyed by ego at the end of the day. And it doesn't mean that they're there screaming about how their targets are going to be right or wrong. It's more of the psychological side of things, and usually it's more indicative of a person's makeup and or lack of confrontation with themselves. I do think that after you understand charting and price action, and you've made a good plan to take advantage of what you are seeing on the charts, the only thing left to do is understand yourself and your emotions, and understanding how to stick to the plan, and putting in basically check boxes of criteria, conditions that need to be met in order to do something like take a trade or cut a trade, to take profits or let things run, whatever it might be. And that is, I think, the hardest part of trading. Yeah. No, I don't really subscribe to that. So we are getting some people who can chat in here. Look, there is a million guru systems out there. There's a million ways to do technical analysis, but they are all based on the same principles. And it really comes down to, they're based on trend, they're based on support and resistance, they're based on volatility and momentum. And trend, support and resistance, and volatility make momentum. 99% of traders trade momentum. They counter trade, and often, by and large in these markets, you get counter traders, which is why liquidations are so prevalent. So you get counter traders based on the momentum, not understanding that the volatility can continue that momentum in that direction. So that's why you have to understand the other pieces, which is trend first with support and resistance, kind of side by side. That's your first, second, basically, or first if you like, but you need trend in order to understand support and resistance. So it's first, second. Volatility is the dispersion of returns, is the technical term for it, but realistically, what is volatility? It's the movement in price, right? And how quickly it moves. And that makes the momentum. So if you're just momentum trading, you don't understand the other pieces, and most do understand trend, most do understand support and resistance, but they leap over to momentum without understanding volatility. Now there's many different systems and systems of technical analysis that have it built right in. GAN, you've got Wyckoff, you've got but one of the big things, yes, an Elliott wave as well. But what you got to understand about those systems is that they're not live reading momentum, and they're projecting momentum and based on volatility, right? I meant volatility to project momentum. So they're projecting volatility and momentum based on trend and support and resistance and fibs and whatever else is in there, right? Counts and so on and so forth. But they aren't live tracking volatility, and that is the key. One of the very first things that I learned in markets was that if you don't track volatility and have that equal to of equal importance in your outlook, one, you're not going to be effectively managing risk, because you're not going to be looking in the appropriate areas for risk. You're going to skip over things. So you have to understand volatility, and most skip it. I don't need that. That's great. I don't understand that. What does this mean? Who cares? Yeah, it's the dispersion of returns. I know what the word means. They don't understand how to track it and how to utilize that information. I think a triple Bollinger Band setup is, how do the kids say? OP? Yeah, it's a little overpowered. it's kind of cheat codes, especially if you turn on the volatility levels for your chart. No, the indicator levels for your chart, which is in the not rectangle menu, but the actual chart menu. So if you come here to scales, oh, damn it. I think it was scales, and then I forgot what the drop down is. We're gonna do this again, even though I found it last week. Yeah. It's a drop down menu in here to turn on like scale overlays for the according to scale, indicators and financials, and then you select value. You can put name on here and it'll tell you like this is the Landy Band's trend checker, upper first, second, and third, basis, lower first, second, and third. But if you just have value on there, I color coded it, it brings the color code over and shows you where those are on the price scale, and then you have your volatility levels of interest. So again, you can grab the indicator. It's free. It's in the video link description, also pinned in my profile there on X. You know, and if you there is going to be a video describing how to use the indicator from a functional point of view, and the best practices for it, along with my tips and tricks for setups. That is coming soon, but there are a few things that I want to straighten out with the indicator first, and that's cleaning up and bringing forward some of the indicator settings options so they're a little bit more understandable to select and unselect, because there's a ton of options in here. You only ever really see me using the Bollinger Bands, but there's ATRs, super trend ATR stuff. Here's BBWP down in the corner here. I wouldn't mess with that. Caretaker tuned it perfectly. But there's a trend checker with that sources MAs and EMAs as checking trend above and below the 200 EMA. So there's ways in which I have to organize that are going to be better, and then we'll have another piece that's going to be integrated, and that's multi-time frame levels. So you can look at the Bollinger Bands live for the time frame, and then you can select to have it draw levels off to the side for a different time frame, so you can see how the bands, where they are on those different levels. So I don't think I have that on here, but yeah. So like you can have where are the weekly bands, and it'll draw it over here, and you can see where the daily bands relate to where the weekly bands are, that kind of thing. So that will be soon. We just have not gotten around to implementing it. Somebody says too busy degenning to update your indicator. You got me. Yeah, basically. I mean, it does kind of come down to that. Hey, I gotta have fun and make some money, man. Come on. This is all free after all. There's no strings attached either. Maybe I should start attaching strings and then I got more time to do shit, right? No, I'm just kidding. That's not gonna happen. This is free information, free indicators, all that shit. There's no strings attached. Just want to share the things that I've learned in these markets for the past, 20 years or something like that. Take a sip of coffee here real quick while you guys are chatting. Over here in YouTube, Bobby says 100% truth has been spoken. I don't know if that's the degenning part or the free information part. I don't know what he's referring to. Probably the degenning part. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, the microphone actually isn't staticky. That's my giant beard rubbing up against it. My apologies. I did not realize that my beard was touching the microphone. Degenning into puppets, shiny stones, square-faced cats, man, and mockeries of politicians and with NBO. and fuck the Fed pieces, and let's see what else is there. There's all kinds of stuff. I like the look of those dragoons. They look cool too. You know, the profile picture stuff does well. I mean, not looking to flip trade a lot of stuff. There is stuff that I've already traded, but I'm in it for there's pieces that I want to keep, and then then there's stuff that I want to sell. If I'm really interested in a project, probably keeping it longer term, or buying multiple and then letting go of some and keeping my favorites. Really depends on market cycle as well. At the moment, the ordinal space is down quite heavily in terms of overall volume, and then there's larger projects that are sucking out the volume from that smaller pool of volume into those projects. So, and then you've got the whole rune narrative also going on over there, which is sucking up a lot of the available liquidity within the system, or ecosystem, I should say. But when fresh liquidity rolls back in for people taking profits, people learning about it, like, it's gonna all explode again. Probably just in time for the rune meme coin run, if I had to guess. I mean, that's a lot of projects are really looking into that. So I think now is the time to sweep floors on projects. There's some really cool communities too over there, regardless of whether or not you're into ordinals or not. Just cool people to hang out with. NBO server is fun. Nat Monkey's server is really fun. Just good people all around over there. The Dragoons guys, just chopping it up with them for like a day or so. They seem really cool. Like, you can just hang out, and a lot of these places get popping and are pretty fun. Lots of alpha, especially over in NBO. Loki putting out some degenerate alpha in the community there. Also wise to what's going on. I'm not up to speed on a lot of what's going on in the community. I understand things from the liquidity side and from the on-chain side, but I don't really... I mean, Landy's Crypto Corner is fun as well. You can join our server, but we're TA focused, and everybody's like, TA? Man, I want memes. Where's my Elizabeth Horden and Joe Bowden and like whatever else there was? Yeah, no, if you enter Landy's Crypto Corner, just understand you're walking into like a hardcore TA place where learning is the focus. Yes, we have fun, but it's learn first, fun second. Yes, you'll also get the odd Landy rant. Bobby wants less facts, more memes. I know you and Torque want less facts, more memes. Look, I'm so measured that I'm dead to memes now. Am I even alive? Oh no. What's happened to me? For those of you just joining on X, I went through complete analysis and breakdown of Bitcoin. So if you want to roll back, you can scrub back. If you want higher quality, X streaming is not very high quality right now. Even though I'm pushing the bitrate really high there, it's just not coming out the other side that great. I will try to find a solution for that. But if you want higher quality, jump over to Landy's Crypto Corner on YouTube. It's streaming in full HD. And very little compression artifacts versus X. So for those of you that are jumping in, went through Bitcoin pretty thoroughly, mainly focused in the beginning on the macro because today's Macro Monday for me and my crew over here, and you are now a part of that crew because you're here. But yeah, it's the compression artifacts are pretty bad on X, so I do suggest that you jump on over to YouTube. And if you are just discovering this stream and me, go ahead and follow if you are a trader or you're looking to get into trading or learning technical analysis from a group that is low-key, small, and want to keep it somewhat small, but highly accurate. Says, Landy, you're being modest. Yeah, well, has modesty ever really hurt anybody? No. I mean, I could be a complete jackass about how correct we've been. Do you want me to be a complete jackass about her? That doesn't... That's off-putting, in my opinion. I understand you're joking. See again, Landy is so dead inside that that the memes and everything, it just has very little effect now. So it happens after 20 years of trading. It's like price goes up, price goes down, volatility compresses, it expands, and throughout it all, you're just dead to it. But it makes you a damn good trader. But then it starts deadening other senses, like humor. When it comes to memes, everything becomes fact-based. Ugh, dull, right? No, on the streams, I'm a bit different, yes, than I am in the servers. I do like to joke around and have fun in the servers, yes. You got me. Yeah, for altcoins, I will look at them, but I'm not the altcoin alpha guy. I am the TA guy that you're going to look to for Bitcoin analysis in this case, and occasionally some meme coin analysis if we are doing open request. Yeah. Probably for meme coins and shit coins, we're probably looking at Wednesday or Friday. More likely Wednesday. Probably have some time to do some coins then. At the moment with Bitcoin moving up in a big way, if we look at my crypto tab here, you're going to see everything move up. But relative to Bitcoin, is it moving in a really big way? ETH, yes, actually a little bit quicker here versus USD. But like your prior cycle shit coins like ADA, not so much. You've got some that are even down in their BTC. You got Anchor that's down in USD. Or no, I'm sorry, Anchor is doing well. It's Algo that's down in versus BTC, as is ADA. You're going to see a lot of that. Versus their Bitcoin pairing, they're not keeping up. ETH, to be fair, probably doing pretty well here. Do I have the Bitcoin pairing up here? Yeah. So it's hanging tough right now. Bitcoin really starts to rip though. It's going to suck liquidity out of the system. You will see things run. Anchor's actually doing amazing right now. Man, Anchor's had quite a run. I have Anchor in my cold storage, and I just have not even paid attention to it since the lows. So it carved out a really nice structure on the bottom here. Wow, actually, holy crap. I guess we are doing meme coin analysis for a moment. I haven't even looked at that wallet, and I know I was accumulating all through 2023 on the lows. That's cool. This is a pretty nice structure that it's testing right now. It's these lows and these current highs. Nice move so far. To be fair, it's not over either. So 50 or 5 cents, 5.2 cents. 5.25. What's it trading at? Yeah, it's gonna turn down if it doesn't keep moving up this week. So that's a beautiful hold of the basis, or the lower first, and then a move back to the basis rather. Nice little higher low swing as well. Break the downtrend. Very cool. Could be looking at 5.3 cents to 5.8. Possibly pushing it to 6 cents. If Bitcoin runs, it's probably going to go too. Look at, you mentioned shitcoins, and here I am looking at shitcoins. Let's look at the ultimate shitcoin on the daily, and that's XRP. Looks like you guys are in for a little bit of a move up here. Come on, Army, get ready to party. Just don't mind any of this bearish divergence that's going to populate overhead. Yeah. It's actually probably going to move up. If Bitcoin moves up, it's probably going to move up at probably looking 75 to 80 cents. Maybe even hit $1. Maybe even hit $1. If you're lucky. It's okay, Army. You can do it. You've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 high time frame overhead resistance levels to get through. But you're in a compression, so you will expand at some point. You'll expand your horizons to either the local highs and higher, to more highs that are higher term time frame, or you're going to expand back to the lows. That would not be good. Even I would be upset by that because, again, I have been holding XRP for a long time. And yes, I took profits in 2017. I took profits again at a lower freaking level in 2021. And I still have plenty of that bag left. And I'll be taking profits again. Guess what? I know that breaks the heart of the X-Rippers. But yeah, I've got better things to do. I do expect XRP to move up versus the US dollar. Yes, I do. Probably somewhere in, if it actually breaks macro structure, probably looking like $7 to $10, and we're probably looking at substantially higher prices for everything else relative, because that would put it at like a $550 to $600 billion market cap. And you're likely to see everything else hitting trillions at that point, Bitcoin in multiple trillions. And then you're going to see more and more utility for XRP because they're going to release more of their escrow and hold your prices down, because a lot of people in XRP don't seem to understand that you have to walk a line if you're going to be a utility token for it to be useful. It cannot be crazy prices. Hey, as it turns out, if XRP is like, I don't know, $15 to $20 a coin, it loses its usefulness on the network as a settlement system. Because now you're pushing into freaking territory that is not any better than what is already available. At that point, wait 30 minutes for your Bitcoin transaction. Shit. Yeah. No. I know most of you saw that little back and forth with the XRP educator. Right, tell me about the new financial system. Didn't have anything to say when I said, I already know what your game is. You're going to be waiting a long time for that rainbow currency, buddy. At this point, you might be looking at it going, the G in Jisara means go fuck yourself. Yeah, no. I mean, even if it's widely adopted, it's not going to be viable to be at those prices. And also, if what was going to happen that these guys think is going to happen, first of all, they don't understand the first thing about economics. So let's just get that out of the way. They're living on hopes and dreams here. They literally are living on a prayer. But even if their new financial system were to work out in terms of come to fruition, and XRP was the base settlement layer, it would have no relevancy to the US dollar anymore. So you wouldn't be measuring it in US dollars, and it would likely not be as valuable in that new system as what would have to be the rails for something that's more valuable. And it would be valued against that, not the current US dollar. So it's like, man, get out of here with your bullshit. You have no idea what you're talking about. But your theory's fun. I'll give them that. It's a fun theory. I could dig a fun theory. I'm into it. Yeah. I mean, that's about as viable as Dogecoin becoming, taking over the US dollar. Look, how viable is it? Could it happen? Anything can happen. And how hilarious would it be if Dogecoin took over the US dollar? I think that would be absolutely bonkers hilarious. Yeah. Becomes the medium of exchange. Dogecoin backed by Bitcoin. The gold icon that everybody's like, it's kicking back up on X. Even some of you have just learned about it recently, that you can change your X icon on different platforms to be different colors, and one of them is Bitcoin gold. So why isn't there a Doge yellow? Right? Where is it, Elon? Come on, man, you're the Doge father. I think he talks about it so that his son has exit liquidity. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's a meme. It's hilarious. I mean, look at Satoshi Nakamoto is also hilarious. A little bit more serious these days, but also hilarious. Do I own Doge? Yeah, I own a lot of Doge, actually. Of course. I'm a freaking degenerate. Can't not own the degenerate coins. I own all of them in some manner. I mean, this cycle, not so much. There probably is going to be some low caps that I'm going to look into, but I'm going to need your guys' help because I just don't have the time to go and look at them. I know like a lot of like shit coins launching on Solana are great and all, but most of them are moving towards the pre-sale model, which is they're straight up securities. You got to be careful, man. On both sides, people launching them and people buying them, because at the end of the year that has tax implications that you might not be prepared for. And yes, it's rampant across all of the altcoins, and even now coming to Bitcoin, there's some pre-sale shit going on. Just understand what the laws are in your area regarding securities. Even though Bitcoin is not a security, things that you do on it might end up being a security, so just be careful. Just make sure you pay your taxes on that at least. But it's all Anon, Landy. It's all Anon. They'll never find out. It's also a public ledger, so be careful. They might not have gotten their 87,000 IRS agents they wanted, but that doesn't mean that they're not trying other things. What do I think about the Biden thing on ordinals? You must be in the MBO chat. Okay, yeah, no, I saw it. Oh, shit. Okay, I know who you... Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, duh. You have a different username. Okay. Yeah. In ordinal communities, the Trumps do well. Your Nat Trumps, your Node Trumps, your... What was it? Solana was the base chain that he launched his first NFT on, right? It was, right? And then you got the Bitcoin layer one. They just rip, man. If the Biden one was a meme, maybe it would rip, like the Joe Biden one on Solana. But I don't have an opinion as to whether or not those things are going to work out. I think that the way that it's, at least anecdotally looking at it, I don't think pure political shilling is going to win the day for that particular project. given the environment and understanding the people who are deep into ordinals. So understanding the market segment is part of it. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you fall on, but if you don't, I personally, I don't see it performing. It's probably going to make money for them. Is it going to make money for people who buy it and trade it? That's another story. I don't know. The Trump stuff usually is like ride the first wave up and you can exit and you're good. You make a freaking bag. It is getting saturated. It's getting way oversaturated, yeah. On chain, whether it doesn't matter which chain you're looking at either. A lot of this oversaturation in ordinal stuff is these DMT projects that are just like, do not let up with these mints because they're free. And typically they, mint out and then somebody's holding most of the supply. They list it so they can dump all that supply. They make, 50 to 100% of what they minted back and then some. And then somebody tries valiantly to make something out of the project and usually it goes nowhere. That's why you look for good communities, the Nat Cats, the Nat Monkeys, the Chaos, even though I know some of you are a little irritated with the way things have gone over there. They have something versus, for the DMT projects, you need to have something, you need to have a team, you need to have active development, you need to have people who are engaged in the communities. Those are the ones that are going to survive long term and do well. There's more than the ones that I listed as well. There's just a few off the top of my head. Otherwise, recursive inscriptions are really fun and cool. Art projects are really fun and cool. They don't usually do well versus the meme shit, but they do well in the aggregate long term, whereas the memes typically pop up really high, ride high for a while, and then dump off to holy hell. And then they'll pop up again really high. It's the same as with meme coins, right? Whereas art, like legitimate art, whether it's recursive or one-off pieces, does very, very well over the longer term and usually gets substantial markups over that longer term. So, and that's consistent across NFTs and ordinals. Haha. See, I didn't call ordinals NFTs there. Be proud. Yeah. When is my mining stream? Mining stream is going to be in the Discord first, because I want to work out the kinks of how I want to describe things and have more of a free-flowing conversation, less of a presentation conversation, like more of an interactive back and forth with members of the community, so that I can work out the best way that I want to present that information, and then I will do a public live stream. I mean, the Discord's public. You can always just jump in there. It's going to be in the public space there. Yes, there is a secret admin space, but it won't be there. It will be in the public space on Discord, where I discuss mining and what it is, how it works, blockchain, the basics of setting up a full node versus a prune node, how easy it actually is. A lot of people don't understand that it's very easy to do. And yes, you should run your own node. Oh, especially if you're like a project lead or involved in any kind of an ordinals project, you need a node. I mean, you can go through other services to have them do it, but for the cost, you might as well just do it yourself. Hey, Spin, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Yeah, so node stuff definitely coming. Basics of TA series is going to be coming too. Yep. Probably going to do mining stuff first. Yeah, because it's good to understand the fundamental side of things, in the way that Bitcoin works. It's not going to be like a Bitcoin crash course. It's going to be a here's how to mine and or run a node. Most people that are going to watch it are not going to be capable of mining or owning a mining rig due to the power, heat, and noise of owning a mining rig that would output substantial enough hash rate that it would be bringing in Bitcoin. So it's going to be more of running nodes, whether it's full or pruned. There's only a little bit of difference there, but for full nodes, in order to run ORDs, you need a full node. But having a pruned node, you can still process your transactions and coin joins and UTXOs and manage wallets and have scripts that hook into it, all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do within consensus. That would be something that I'd be talking about too, is templating systems and stuff like that. But that's more advanced. That'd be for another video. It's just be basic. Here's how to set up your node. Yep. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to comment on the big personalities in the space. No. For TA? No. There's no need. I mean, the ones that are beclowning themselves are very obvious. And who the hell am I? I have, in this world of influencers, especially in TA, which is kind of weird. It's a weird influencer sphere where you do have legit people who are freaking boss at what they do in terms of analysis, right? That are very popular. But by and large, it's full of bullshitters who have read a couple books, studied a couple patterns, and are like, I'm going to give advice, but it's all marketing. There's always something attached, whether it's courses or, there's always a string attached. There's always there's the sell. The information is there for free to sell you something. And I don't have a problem with it if they're legitimate TA guys who are former market guys, whether they were licensed or worked in and under licensed professionals. They're really easy to pick out. I've named quite a few many times here. Crown, Michael Pizzino. I don't think Jason actually worked, but being his brother was. So, they're good. Then you got guys who aren't, admittedly aren't market guys, but are just super good at what they do because they've honed their skills so well, like Credible Crypto and, Rickus. There's a few others, and people are going to get it wrong, myself included. So that's okay. But then there's the, MDX. Yeah, you can't forget MDX. Or if you really want to dive deep, you go into profits trading and you look into Roman. I want to talk about a dude that has broken down markets to such a degree that even I look at him and I'm like, holy shit, man, that guy's fucking good. And I consider myself very, very good at this. It's one of the things that I'm very good at. But Roman is one, he's an OG. And again, people who do this don't get it right all the time, but been right since I've been watching you. Yeah, I mean, it's because we do conditional analysis. It's not about, look, you can nail it every single fucking time on conditional analysis. It's about how you trade it, right? And making sure that that conditional analysis bleeds over into your actual trading plan. And yeah, you really want to dive like deep into like everything. Fucking look at Roman. He doesn't stream much these days. He's retired and he's running his business with, he knows that what he has done and the amount of effort that guy has put into his products, it's pure love that he has put into those projects. And I think he sells them for, I think they're way undervalued in terms of what he sells them for. He could charge ungodly amounts of money and it would still be worth it. Just the methodology in which he's gone about building what he's got over there. Crown's another one. I mean, these guys who do offer those products, just because they offer something, they sell something, doesn't mean that they're not legit. Like, these are legit dudes, but there is always, look, you know who they are. Whether they're the crypto YouTubers, the big ones, or the crypto Twitter accounts or X accounts that are very big, very much wrap themselves in a cloak of hyperbole when it comes to price, have extreme views on it, and don't give invalidations. And the reason that they don't give invalidations is because they're not going to tell you it's invalid until their thesis breaks down, and then they'll move that invalidation. So that's pretty easy to pick out. Where if you lay out the conditions for what price is going to do and where it's going to go, it's pretty clear. This is not hard. If you're doing conditional analysis and you're being honest and you're not just trying to get clicks. Like, it's probably one of the reasons why this particular account that I'm running is not going to grow very big, and that's okay. I don't need to grow big. I'm not looking for fame, fortune, or any of that shit. It's not meant for that. It's meant for education, people who are passionate about learning about technical analysis, discussing the markets, and hanging out and just bullshitting like this right now. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that some of you are able to chat in here. Again, I am going to, for X, I'm going to try to launch a Spaces and stream through the Spaces instead. That way, people who do not have like the premium can chat, because that seems to be, from what I've been talking to people behind the scenes, then looking at through the documentation, that seems to be what the issue is like, if you don't have premium, to get your blue check mark and like the other features that come along with that, it seems as though those are the people who are not able to see the chat or to chat when a live stream is up. But that does not cross over to Spaces, so you could like raise your hand, we could have an open discussion if you want to have your voice heard. Yeah, we could do that. I'd see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got some monkeys and some MBO in here. Cool. Yeah, no, I recognize some of your names. Very cool. And on the YouTube side, it's just normal crew, I think. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, if you're just arriving, like I said, all of the technical analysis was right from the rip after the counter counts down for the stream setup stuff. Dive right into Bitcoin analysis. So you can find all of that in the beginning of the stream. If you're looking, again, for higher quality video, because even after I end the stream on X, it's still the crunchy bit rate, even though I'm pushing out a very high bit rate. And I've even tried adjusting that, and like, it's just not, it's whatever processing they're doing, and maybe it's my connection to their servers for streaming, I don't know, from my location. But in this case, it's the stream quality is much better on YouTube. I mean, go figure, they've been doing it for a lot longer. Yeah, you can find that in the link in the video description. So you can follow me, turn on notifications if you want to hear from me incessantly in your feed. But definitely go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, repost, retweet, and share, yada, 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 all the social stuff. If you would like to see others, head on over and maybe learn a thing or two, and or just hang out and give me their perspective, and you give me your perspective as well, and we'll continue on with this. Now tomorrow I should have a staring at charts video. I will stream it. It's going to be later at night on in the United States, after market close. I will record the video, and then I'm going to jump into the stream. It's going to be streaming on YouTube and X, and then the native resolution version will be uploaded to X after the stream ends, and YouTube. So stream it, we can chat, hang out, and that's probably going to be where we're going to be talking about, like, hey, this is pushing 70 something K, maybe 72, maybe it's already pushing the highs by then. Just try to hit 71 up there, which is the daily upper first. So maybe it gets there and above by then, or maybe it breaks down back to 65, who knows. But I will discuss that and then stream it, and then I'll be back here on Wednesday for a Market Madness stream. I think I named today, it's supposed to be Macro Monday. I think I named it Market Madness. Who cares? Whatever. Landy's tired. He had a long weekend. All right, well, you all take care. You have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. I am going to leave the stream up for those that like to chart and listen to some tunes for a little bit and review what we were talking about. So we are going to leave that up. I will raise the volume a little bit after I click this over. Let's go ahead and do... Excuse me. We'll set this, I'm on the west coast of the United States, so we'll set this for 12:35 my time, so it's about 10 minutes or so. And yeah, I appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging out again. And with all of that said, Landy out.
Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.